Welcome to Amateur Redneck Workshop. I'm Harold, world's greatest redneck, and as you know, we're making a knurling tool. And of course my goal is to make a knurling tool that will do at least 2 inches with hopeful aspirations that it'll knurl up to 3 inches. Alright, so in this part we'll start working on the arms of the clamp type knurling tool, and I already know we won't get finished, but we'll make progress. All right, and I guess I've ordered some drill rod from from Amazon, and I was going to use it for the retainer, the axle, whatever on these these arms components, but it hadn't shipped yet, and it's been more than a week, so I don't know if it's ever going to ship, so I may have to temporarily put bolts in there. They won't look real good, but they'll hold it together. But anyway, we're not down to the bolt part yet. We're still working on cutting the metal. All right, that's what we're going to do in this video. So let's just get on with it. All right. All right, we're going to assume this is the lower arm out of the two of them, which means I want to bias the cutter over to the side that'll be closer to the chuck. I'm going to leave about 150 thousandths metal on this side to hold the little axle for this guy, and on this side there will be a lot more metal, but I'm going to use a different size reamer so that the axle only has to actually press fit into one side. I'm not sure if that'll work good, but I'll think about it before I ever get to the doing of it. I'll think about it a lot. Now, I'm going to cut this thing in there 5/8 back and 5/8 deep. Not because I need that much. I mean, the whole diameter of this thing is 5/8. But that way I'll be assured that I've got plenty of room. And, you never have too much of anything unless it's bozo. Alright, that's a 3/16 end mill in mild steel, so I've got it cranked up to about 1700 RPM, and of course I'll have to keep a lot of juice on it to keep it cool, but I'm going to take say a 20,000 cut with it, and we'll see how that comes out, and if that looks alright, then we'll just keep on until I'm 5/8 deep and 5/8 back. And once I've got that accomplished, then I'll start adjusting it for the 1/4 inch width. Right now I'm making a .190 width. Probably should make it bigger than that, but that's what we're going to wind up with when I cut the groove. Then I'll branch out to the right size. How's that? I was starting to think I was never going to get started here. I came out and I had to go back to talk to Mother Nature, and then I come back and the camera battery dies on me before I start to cut anything. So maybe we'll get to do a little cutting here. Make some chips for the guys that love chips. Okay. That was a wonderful little cut, so I'm gonna turn off the camera and I'll just keep cutting back and forth like that until I get in 5/8 of an inch. I decided to stop at 600 thousandths deep because that gives more than enough clearance for my rollers, and so now I've got to start cutting this to 1/4 of an inch wide. So I've moved over to .243, which is what gives me 150 thousandths left over on the side there, and I'm going to go in and cut that side down until I get to the bottom, and then we'll come back across and cut the side on this other side. Alright, I got about a bit cut good enough, so 5 more cuts at 100 thousandths deep, and I'll be there. So, take a nap, and then I'll wake you up when we get to the other side. Alright, that finishes up cutting the width of that side. So now I've got to move the part that way so I can work on getting down to 1/4 of an inch. Alright, now I'm going to redo all my calculations to make sure I know where I should be. Okay? With any luck, this will be our last cut on this one. I've been checking it with pen gauges so I don't have to depend on my feel with the micrometer. Alright, let me clean it up and then we'll check it. Now the knurling roller is just a tiny bit tight if I've got all the chips out of there, which I may not have. But I don't want it to be loose. I want about 1,000th clearance. So I'm going to get a pen gauge and try it out. A 1/4 inch pen gauge. And it's a little bit tight on it. So I think probably a couple of spring cuts is what I need. I'll wake you up when I get it done. Okay, it fits in there quite well. Not tight, not loose. Just pretty much exact size. Okay? And I'll put the axle in there, and there'll be a certain amount of wheel sticking out. And when we get all that done, we'll round off the ends, and we'll do a lot of things like that. But now I've got to cut the other side. And I've got to remember on the other side to bias this on the other way, because he'll be on top pointing down. And we want this thin side over here by the chuck. To the bottom side, it's over by the chuck. Okay, so I got the next piece in there, and I tapped it down real good with a Randy Richard knocker. And everything should be level and flat. Now I've got to bias the slot onto this side this time. So away we go. Alright, cutting on this side is going to be just like cutting on the other side. So I'm going to assume you've already seen it, and I'll just do it while you sleep. Probably through no fault of my own, I got these 2 slots lined up just right. There's the knurler sitting in the 2 of them. The sides are flush with each other. So when I turn one over on top of the other, they should knurl real nicely up close to the chuck. Now we got more work to do. Never an end to the work. Alright, the time has come to make the slots that go all the way through on what I refer to as the hinge end of the thing. And so we're going to get with it and start cutting away. I wonder if I have enough length there to cut through that little booger. I may have to find another end mill. It's just got a little bit more goody. We'll find out, won't we? Problem solved, I guess. I've got a 1/4 inch carbide end mill. It's a ball end mill, but I'm not doing anything I think that'll bother the ball end of it. and it's 1/4 inch all the way instead of having that taper at the end, so I can cut all the way through with this. But I'll finish with this, and I'll start with the other one and I'll finish with this one probably. We'll see how it works out. It's cut through, except because there's a ball end, there's sort of a narrower slot at the bottom. So I'm going to clean up that little bit. Last cut on this one, got it to depth and to width. This will finish it off. The part that's going in it fits in it, and so this one is finished on the hinge end. I'll do the same thing with the other one and let you sleep through it. Alright, time to drill out the little where the hinge pins are going to go in there. So let's give her a shot. Next bit, we'll approach the size of this thing in 2 steps, and that should make everything really happy. Speed's too much for a drill bit. Least we can hope. Alright, and I'll be doing the other one just exactly the same way. Now I'm going to use a 5/16 drill rod for the hinge end down there, but I put that in just to make sure that my rollers are still going to be lined up with each other and they can still be biased towards the chuck side. And I messed up here. I meant to bias this over to this side, and I didn't, but I don't guess it really matters. So now I've got to clean off the extra metal here and here, and there's going to be some extra metal that's got to come off here, as well as I've got to still cut another hole here for the little adjuster that goes between them. So we're a long ways from being done, but we are getting closer. Oh, that's closer to the effect I want. I may take it down and make one more 100,000th cut before I give it up, but that's looking pretty good, I think, right there. So I'll get this thing ready for the next cut. Alright, we'll cut some more angles over here. And these angles aren't necessary, they're just for decoration. Alright, I'll clean that up, and that's where I'm going to knock off for the day after I take it over to the belt sander and clean it up some. I'm tired. I installed a dash cam in the boss lady's car, and I had to go and hide the wire really super good, so I had to work myself to it. It took me 2 hours to run the wire. I should have had Memo helping me.